Hey Star Wars fans and action figure collectors, welcome to my top 10 Black Series action figures for 2025. I'm excited to finally get to put this list together. I'm just at that point of the year. It's, we're a week into December. I don't think anything else is going to hit. I know there's been a few people out there that have had a great deal of luck and been able to get some of the 2026 releases early. And that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to getting those figures in the new year. But yeah, I don't foresee anything showing up for me until then. So I'm going to stick with what I've got. Obviously, just in front of you, that's just a custom Jesse that I've put together over the last couple of years. He just sort of stands proudly on my desk. But as always, I'm going to go through a couple of honourable mentions. Just a couple of figures that I wanted to talk about. They didn't quite make the cut of the 10. And number one spot is actually reserved for a couple. So playing by my rules here. Playing by my rules. I'd love to hear your top 10. Drop them down in the comments below. I'd love to see how close you guys get to mine. So let's get started. Alright, so kicking off my honourable mentions is the 3-pack if you call it a 3-pack. I call it a 3-pack because Scuba is as much as a character as anyone else. Turgle is a figure that's almost like a fever dream, and the fact that Hasbro had the cojones to go and give Cal Kestis a mullet and a handlebar moustache is just one of my favourite things that happened in the Star Wars Black Series line this year. Turgle is the epitome of Star Wars whimsy. He's a big frog dude, and while he was kind of lacking in articulation, knees and elbows, I don't care. I really don't care. He's the paint's awesome, the sculpt's amazing, and if I get a little Scoover off here so you can have a close look at him, I've given him a little bit of extra detailing than the figure initially got, but that's for my enjoyment more so than anything else. There was no shade thrown at Hasbro for that. At the end of the day, he's more of an accessory than a figure, but I class him as a character. My heart has Scuva Stev has my heart. So, but yeah, like I said, Turgle, Cal Kestis with a mullet, and the fact that he got packed with all his variations of lightsabers, and just a pretty awesome 3-pack. One of the best packs we've seen in a while, in my opinion. Multi-packs at least. There goes. That's my honourable mention. So let's move on to the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is none other than the rogue smuggler Rendar from Shadows of the Empire, just a year before his 30th anniversary of existing. Again, another one of those sort of fever dream figures that came out this year. I still can't quite believe he came. He's a fantastic figure. Really came out really nicely. I know a lot of people had an idea what Rendar would look like in, a little bit more of a live action scenario. Given that he had multiple different sort of appearances throughout the comic books and the game. And, some he had a little bit of stubble. Some he looked a little bit more like Kurt Russell. I don't know. He's got a little bit of Kurt Russell in him. I can't remember who I said he looks like. But yeah, it's a wild figure to have, considering the last time we had a Rendar was 1996 in the Power of the Force 2 Shadows of the Empire subline. And he just looks great. It's just a fantastic interpretation. Articulates well. Paint applications are fantastic. Doesn't need any more weapons than the blaster he has. He's just excellent. So yeah, he came into my top 10 quite easily. And yeah, couldn't find a way to bump him out. So he just had the staying power of the top 10. There's a couple of figures that came close to nudging him. I think he might have even got bumped down 1 or 2 spots at some stage, but as I sort of tracked it throughout the year. But there's number 10. Let's go on to number 9. And rolling in at number 9 is Dagan Gera. In either of his appearances, this is the 2-pack version that comes with the spirit arm or the Force Ghost arm, whatever you want to call it, which is my preferable version. I did love the single arm version. Amazing figure, really, really nice. I was just obsessed with the outfit of the sort of High Republic era. Love to see more of that sort of like gold, that sort of more higher up sort of feeling. Even his lightsabers, they've got this sort of ornateness to them that the Jedi have pretty much lost by the time you get to the prequel era of Star Wars. And then, he was a fantastic villain in the game, fantastic character all round, interesting motivations, had the works. And the fact that he came out as awesome as he did in action figure form, really, really good. Like I said, either or. I went for the two arm because I like the way he fights with the two blades. Whereas you can still join them together and have them as a single blade. And I still have my single armed version of Dagon on the shelf, and he's got it. He's just sort of got the double blade in one hand. But what they did to bring this guy out with a second arm was really, really cool. I don't really have a lot else to say about Dagon Gera, but that's why he come in at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. And swinging in at number 8 is Sebulba. This is a figure that while it was a surprise as a reveal, the quality of the figure is what surprised me. In terms of engineering and what Hasbro can do with figures such as Sebulba, weird aliens, it really opens up a door of opportunity. Particularly, if characters like this sell well, limited reuse, very, very limited reuse of this figure. Any parts of this, you might be able to get away with some, maybe some forearms or something like that. But for the most part, this guy's going to be a single use figure. The little frog you might get away with using again. But just an absolutely unreal addition to the Black Series line. Is there any other characters I would have preferred? I don't. You know what? I don't know. Probably maybe Watto. If I was to pick one from the Phantom Menace that I'd like a little bit more than Sebulba, it'd be Watto. But that's because he's been on my want list for a long time. But Sebulba is absolutely unreal. Like I said, it opens up a lot of possibilities for what Hasbro can do with the Black Series line, in terms of diversifying with aliens and creatures, and we talked about Turgle before. Just things like that. Makes it wild. Makes it very, very wild. So that's why Sebulba rolls in at number 8. Let's check out 7. And coming in at number 7 is Prince Shizor, another character much like Dash Rendar. Just absolutely wild that we're getting this guy now in 2025. Well, he has seen more releases over the years, as opposed to Dash having only the one original release. Shizor had 2 original releases, and then had an updated release in a Legacy Collection comic pack. Maybe it was 30th anniversary, but I think it was Legacy Collection. Failing to remember at this point, but either way, that's nearly 20 years ago now, 15 to 20 years ago. So it has been some time, and what Hasbro's done with this character again is just superb. From the sculpting of the robes, the sculpting of the head, the lizard back. Look at it. It's so good. Just the purples, the golds, just these super rich colors, which just... he looks like an evil bad guy. He looks like a syndicate boss. And, there's... hopefully that's not it to come for Shadows of the Empire. I really, really hope to see more. Obviously, there was another 2-pack we got with Leia and Boushh disguise and Luke in the Imperial Guard disguise. But Shizor was a new character for that sort of adventure, that story, along with Dash Rendar, and to have both of those in action figure form is just superb. And talk about shelf presence in prior videos. This guy's got it. he's unique, he's different, he's exotic, things like that. Things like these characters, like Sebulba beforehand, and Turgle, they stand out on your shelves. They jump out and say, "Here's, grab my attention. You have my attention," which is something I love. Which is why he came in at number 7. Let's take a look at number 6. Now, with number 6, I had to pan out to get this guy on screen. SM33 from Skeleton Crew. You may very well be the last figure we see from Skeleton Crew. A very sort of short-lived advertising sort of run. It ran for the 8 weeks, and we got a run of figures. We got a full wave, which is great figures. All those figures from the entire wave. All the kids, Jod and Arwood, the pirate wolf guy, Brutus, yep, had to remember his name. All fantastic figures, they really were. But SM33 sort of came out a few months later, and sort of just wiped the floor in terms of engineering, in the sculpt, detailing, accessories, just an absolute masterpiece of a figure. From the little mouse in the eye to the head being able to pop off, and all the arms and legs being able to extend. You can have him as a squat little, sort of peg leg droid, to this tall, almost beastly warrior who sort of has a lot of, mechanic resemblance to K2SO, and that sort of era of Imperial droids. Very similar in sort of shape and stature in terms of, bulky chest, long legs. You can kind of maybe see him, SM33, as maybe an earlier version of a K2 droid, or whatever the mechanics that made them, an earlier model, so to speak. But yeah, as a figure, I can't think of any flaws, honestly. There's it's just, you get, every figure comes with the bad and the good, and this came with the exceptional. Just the fact that it came with its own stand. Hasbro knew this guy's basically going to be rested on one leg. He needs a stand. They gave him a stand. Absolutely fantastic. If they could put one of those in every single package, that'd be nice. If you're watching, Hasbro, just chuck one in. Just throw it in the box. It'd be great. So yeah, SM33 comes in at number 6. We're going to take a look at number 5 next. Let's have a look. Number 6, we have Night Sister Merrin. This was just one of my highly sought after characters and figures ever since the first game. And what came out in figure form was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it's a little bit simpler in terms of design as in comparison to figures like SM33, Prince Shiz, or Sebulba. But I don't know, when you have an attachment to a story, a character like Cal Kestis and Merrin, and the things that they go through, and then you finally get that realized in action figure form, a physical, something you can pick up and hold. This one just did a lot for that for me personally. Just the look, don't get me wrong, I'd love a season 1. I'll call it season 1, but it's Jedi Fallen Order, that first game. That's how much the story means to me. It feels like it's seasons, not games. But the technology they used to get this sort of fitting over a hand, again, something different, something new for the Black Series. And look and articulation, I'm a big fan of just, she's still got her Night Sister sort of red undertones, still showing that sort of heritage to her past, while adapting a more, sort of utilitarian future with what she's doing with Cal in the galaxy. And yeah, the sculpt is, on the head sculpt, just absolute bang on, in my opinion. I think it's really, really nice. And yeah, big fan of the Night Sisters, big fan of the Witches of Dathomir, and obviously by default Merrin. So yeah, she comes in at, well, she number 5. Let's get on to number 4, shall we? And on to number 4. I'm sure you can all understand how hard it was to have this guy so low on the list. The next 4 figures belong at number 1, in my opinion. it's less of a 4-3-2-1. It's more of a 1-1-1-1. Savage Press, just yeah. This is obviously one of the earlier figures released this year. I think he came in second in my top 5 halfway through the year, and yeah, that was because there was one other figure that beat it out at that point for me. If you remember that video from 6 months ago, nearly 6 months ago, you'll remember, probably 5 months ago, you'll remember which figure comes in before him. Yeah, just an absolute beast of a figure. So much so that, I bought a spare one to keep in the box, and I kept another one in the box too. I've got 2 in the box, one to rock, one to stock, and one just in case. Because, if I ever play this guy and he breaks, I want to have a spare. And you never know with the figures these days which ones are going to become, tough to find later on. There are some figures like that just, they come, they go, you never see them again at retail. Thankfully, Savage seems to be just sort of hanging around a little bit still. You can still get a hold of him. But yeah, I wanted to make sure, so I grabbed a couple of extras just to stash aside. And I know Metal Jedi, I know Brian, you're watching, you're going to be disappointed that this guy didn't come in number 1. But, we've been talking back and forth about this figure for nearly 12 months. So, yeah, super unreal figure. Again, like I said, he's more of an equal first than he is fourth. But for the point of counting down, he's number 4. Let's get on to number 3. Yeah, here's number 3. Now, yeah, this was my number 1 halfway through the year. This was the guy that knocked Savage off the top at that sort of 6-month point of the year. I think Han came out in sort of May-ish, maybe 8. I can't remember. This year has been a blur. I'm sure everyone agrees and understands. But yeah, Han Solo still makes it into the top 5. Again, an equal first contender in my opinion. It's just... It's I can't think of any flaws in this figure except for, maybe a couple of extra hands, but we could say that about every single Star Wars figure that's come out in the last few years is, we could do with some extra bits and pieces, some world building stuff, some hands, just for those different poses. But, the fact that he did get sort of one semi-relaxed hand is much appreciated rather than just 2 trigger fingers. Yeah, it's just an absolute... dead on to Harrison Ford in my opinion. I think he's fantastic, and it's definitely precedence for good things to come. We're talking about human characters and what we're getting in the future, and I took a cool shot of Han with Dash Rendar earlier in the year on my Instagram, and they just look so good together. Just these two, basically space cowboys. And yeah, Han Solo being one of my all-time favorites. It was hard to stay away from this one, and this is one. If you'd missed out, he's for whatever reason he's been a tough one to find again. Because this is one I'd love to just get in the box and just keep him aside for a rainy day, for a special occasion. If he decides to take a tumble off a shelf and breaks, I want to make sure I've got a spare, which I don't do much, but I would do it for Han. So yeah, that's why he comes in at number 3. Let's get on number 2. And yeah, coming in at number 2 is Chimera, aka the Stranger from the Acolyte. This is probably one of the most fun I've had with a figure this year. Like I said, so much so that I had to buy 2. I wanted to display both versions. I wanted to display him as Chimera, as the helmeted Sith Lord or Sith wannabe. We don't know. Hopefully we find out a little bit more about this guy. And then as the unmasked Chimera, as he was. And you can still mix this up and have another version. You can have him as the bumbling fool, as he was early on in the season. My light's just flickering a little bit. Hopefully it's not coming up in the video. But yeah, just 2 unreal sculpts. The head sculpt on Chimera, really good likeness of Manny Jacinto, and then the nasty looking helmet of the Stranger is just... there's no doubt this guy's a bad guy. He's just pure evil. what they did with the layering of, the soft goods, the plastic over the top of the soft goods, and then the soft goods underneath his pants, just absolutely unreal. And even so, you can take off his gauntlet, his cortosis gauntlet. You can remove that and just have the bare arms. You can just sort of have him just chilling, just if you want to find a shirtless Marvel Legends figure, put his head on it, you can have him go for a swim in the pool. as glistening wet Manny Jacinto. Yeah, an absolutely unreal figure. Like I said, I've had way more fun with this figure than any other this year. Maybe Savage would be close. But this one here, just to hold, to look at, to play with, just super nice. And, the shelf presence is just unreal. And, 2 versions, absolutely necessary in my opinion. And, definitely balances out with all the good guys from the Acolyte, which is a pretty cool display, honestly. And I think the show's starting to grow on a lot of people. So hopefully it may continue into the future. But, that's number 2, guys. I'm going to do a little bit of a drum roll for me, if you want to do a drum roll. I'm not going to do a drum roll, but if you want to do a drum roll, we're going to move on to number 1, which, like I said, is a twofer. So number 1 is a package deal, Skywalker and Kenobi. Couldn't separate them. Honestly, couldn't separate them. Not only are these 2 characters super highly desirable, they've been long-awaited upgrades. The big SDCC exclusive pack with the Mustafar thing was just perfect release. But I'm even just counting the single release versions. Even though I've got the extra hand from the Mustafar set. I've got the Mustafar set up on display. I didn't want to bring that down. I just wanted to focus on the 2 figures at hand rather than the play set as a whole. Yeah, so what Hasbro's done is, in my opinion, I've had the SH Figure Arts versions of these in the past as an attempt to replace the original Black Series figures. They did a good job. What Hasbro's done here has eclipsed SH Figure Arts immensely. It's just, the look of them is fantastic. The head sculpts are just near perfect, honestly. I talked about Han Solo before being amazing what they could do with humans. Chimera looking like Manny Jacinto. This is Ewan McGregor. This is Hayden Christensen at their best. If you want to do better, you got to go buy Hot Toys. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is these days. But for Black Series 6-inch scale, 1/12 scale action figures, these just can't get any better. Iconic characters, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, 20 years of Revenge of the Sith this year. I'll be honest, these 2 should have came out on the Revenge of the Sith card backs that they did for the Black Series. People would have hung them all over their house, put them on the Christmas tree. I would have, I'd wear them as a necklace. Honestly, I'd just do stupid things with those figures on those cards. So I hope maybe as a little extra, maybe Hasbro will do that. But I know the whole Mustafar playset was kind of that addition to the Revenge of the Sith anniversary. So I commend them for that packaging and what they did with the panning droid and the platform, the lava, absolutely unreal. The interchangeable heads, having Anakin having a dark-sided head and Obi-Wan having the more sort of, for lack of a better term, sweaty battle-worn. He's got his hair's a little bit messed up, got a little bit dirty on the lava flats of Mustafar. But yeah, I have seen some people tweak these figures even more, add more depth to the hair. But you know what, for me, these are just absolutely bang on. I've since bought another Anakin, which I've converted into a sort of a later seasons Clone Wars. I gave him a glove instead of, I lopped the hand off and put a glove from the Clone Wars Anakin on there. And I was very happy with that, how that turned out. In terms of the figures, I don't know if I need to buy them again. I've got a couple of versions, But yeah, as I said, I would love to have a nice little stock of extras. I've got a Han Solo. Well, I haven't got a Han Solo. I've got a Savage Press extra. If I was going to do any other two, it'd be these two here, honestly. But you know what? It's money I don't need to spend, and yeah, I'm very happy having the Heroes of the Republic right here, as well as the Duel on Mustafar being displayed on my shelf. Just absolutely unreal. Yeah, I'd give my wholehearted thanks to the team at Hasbro, the Black Series team, for making sure these figures are just absolutely bang on, perfect the way they are. Fantastic year for Black Series. Really looking forward to seeing what comes next year. I know we've got some absolute gold coming, particularly in that first wave. Like I said, there's a few people out there that have got them early, and yeah, I'm a little bit jealous, but it also excites me to have them in hand myself at some stage in the very, very near future. But yeah, there's my top 10 Black Series for 2025. Really looking forward to what next year's going to bring. And sort of stepping away from 3 3/4 inch this year means, you know, in terms of Star Wars, my full focus is going to be on Black Series. I'm not going to be getting worried about the smaller scale stuff anymore, which has been, so far, the first month of culling and you know, easing off. It's been good. It's been good. So, hey, I appreciate everyone else for your support out there. Again, this won't be my last video for the year, but you know, probably won't be any more reviews. If there is, they'll be sneaky. But yeah, like I said earlier in the video, drop yours down below. I'd love to see your top 10, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Until then, may the force be with you always.